I'm here with Sam Welten. He's the executive director of a humanitarian organization called Possibilities International. And I love what you say, Sam. It says you are there to help fulfill the simple dreams of the hurting, helpless, and hopeless by raising up a nation of everyday philanthropists. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
What is a philanthropist anyways?
It's amazing. I think half the people in Canada don't know what a philanthropist is. A philanthropist really simply is someone who gives of their time, energy, passion, or resources, Kevin, to help others. And my whole thing was, years back, I looked at people like Oprah Winfrey, Bill Gates, who did great things, called philanthropists. But I looked at the 9-year-old girl who wanted to give her $40 of birthday money, and I thought that was just as powerful and more as a philanthropist or as great as what Oprah Winfrey and Bill Gates would give.
But you've set it in motion, an ability for some of those young kids with 20, 30, $10 to become a part of what you do. Your website, I love the website that you have. It's iam1ru.com. And you've set up an ability for those young kids for $10 to fulfill a simple dream. Tell us a little bit about how that got started.
Well, we just came across the fact of I've traveled a lot and realized that you could impact somebody's lives. You didn't need 100,000, you didn't need 10,000, you didn't even need 1,000.
Right.
You could impact somebody's life for all their time here on earth, for sometimes as much little as $50. And so that a child could participate. I've spoken churches and had children bring me Ziploc bags of change and hand it to me. You want to talk about a humbling experience here. This is for you. Go and change somebody's life.
You have what we call dream agents, right? You call them dream agents around the world. You're in places like Kyrgyzstan, Haiti, Ukraine, Guatemala, Ghana, Mexico. And you and I took a trip a few years ago into Kyrgyzstan and Ukraine and Uzbekistan. We went into these countries and I saw some of your simple dreams being fulfilled. Tell us about that one day in the dump. It's a day I'll never forget.
We were in the dump, if you remember, just outside of Tokmak, Kyrgyzstan, and we had taken soup and bread, and it was on that wagon, and we brought all the people from the dump to the wagon to be able to get the soup and stuff. And I'll never forget standing beside you, and a garbage truck pulled in and began to back up, beep beep, and all the people running.
I know.
Right, with their pitchforks and stuff. And you looking at me and going, what are they doing?
What are they doing?
I said, they want to be at the back of that truck when the garbage comes off. And as we scanned the horizon that day, no one should ever have to look for garbage in a dump. But there was one young girl that dressed, she just didn't fit the part. And you and I going to a translator and finding out that she was there to collect things to sell because she wanted to do her last year of high school. I think she was 15. Her last year of high school, she needed to pay registration, buy a uniform. And so I said to the translator, how much is that? And she said, equivalent to $60 US. I'll never forget looking over at you. You got your hands in your pocket. You're pulling out money and us actually setting that young lady up because of your generosity that day to make sure that she got to that last school that she wanted to go to, that good school.
That kind of stuff blows me away. We've talked about these simple dreams, but until I was on the field with you, watching all of these opportunities of simple dreams, I wouldn't have understood, I wouldn't have believed it. But the one that kind of sticks out, probably, I wouldn't say more, there's so many stories that do, but this one was kind of world-changing for this family. I got to see you give a house to some lady. Tell us about that story and how that came about.
We were fixing a home for a young lady. Her name was Laura in a village, and she lived there.
Wasn't she living in the dump before this?
Part of her family did. She was living with her grandmother in this house. There was no fence. She had no bathroom. She would literally go to her front yard in the bathroom. There was no dignity for her. So I had a team there where we were renovating her house, putting up a fence, putting in a bathroom. It was going to be the only outhouse in Kyrgyzstan with a motion sensor light. We found a motion sensor, so that was wild. Anyways, we had somebody stay there, this mom and this young daughter. We had somebody stay in the house to watch our tools while we had this young lady and her grandmother out of the house. And I'll never forget, they got them from the dump. So they brought this mom and her young daughter from the dump to stay in this house, watch our tools for 5 days. And our son, Scott, was on the trip with me, and he said, Dad, what happens to this woman and her daughter when we're done here? And I said, well, they're going to go back to the dump. He was so upset. He just decided, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. I've got to go, Dad, I need to raise this money, blah, blah, blah. And so anyway, he emailed a bunch of people. We had to stop them from giving. We ended up buying that house, giving it to her. And it was a few years later that we actually presented her to the deed, and that was her own home.
I will never forget that day. We're sat around in this kind of makeshift ceremony, and you had the opportunity to tell her that she was going to own this home. And she didn't believe you because it was so far out of her realm of possibilities. But you've taught me something. We've been friends for a long time, but you have taught me something that I think is, I don't know, it was world-changing for me. This whole concept of extravagant generosity, you live it out every day. And Possibilities International is extravagantly being generous with people around the world. Talk to us about that concept of extravagant giving.
When I came to the point in my life where I realized that God loved me so much that even if I was having a bad day, He still offered me His grace and mercy. It literally changed the way I began to live, because I don't care a lot about what they've done in the past or all those kinds of things, because God has never said to me yet, or any other person, you know what? You're having a bad day today. I'm going to hold back my generosity and grace from you. Matter of fact, He says, you know what? You don't deserve it, but I'm going to give it to you anyway.
Right.
And that changed me. And so I just made it the purpose of my life, whether I was here in another country. I want people to know that when I'm over there and I'm helping them and we're serving them, that it's the best gig on the planet. I'm having a complete riot doing it. There's no greater thing that I'd rather be doing than helping people and bringing hope and grace and mercy to their lives.
Well, when you go on a trip, things change. You deal with dignity. You give dignity to the poor, and you give generously. And I think it's something that we can all learn from. I love the fact that when we were over there, half the time you're searching out, who can we give to today? And I know that there's people out there that will want to go on these kinds of trips. PI facilitates trips all around the world. And if you're interested in kind of understanding a little bit more about generous giving, go to iam1ru.com, connect with Sam and their team, and go on one of these trips and learn what it means to give incredibly generous. When's your next trip?
I leave on Saturday to go to Guatemala and doing a trip there and building some houses. We're doing stuff in schools. I'm back for a week. Then I'm back again for another week over March break. We're going to the mountains to teach a bunch of kids how to play hockey.
I love
it. And stuff. So I'll be in Guatemala 4 times over the next 4 months. And it's going to be a great time.
Well, if you want to be a part of that, make sure you connect with Sam and learn what it means to give extravagantly.